I'm going to share with you a recipe today that is very simple and it only has 2 ingredients. You don't even have to have water to do this. Hey friends, welcome back to Homestead, and if you are new here, my name is Hope, and here on this channel we talk about simple living and simple health, and one of the ways that I'm doing that is through intermittent fasting. But today I'm going to take a break from the intermittent fasting conversation and talk about fermented foods. We all know that flu season is just around the corner. For some of us, it's kind of hit a little bit early. We just had a round of COVID in the past month go through our house, and we are still in the recovery phase for part of that. One of the ways we have been combating that and recovering is to really be focused on really nourishing our bodies with the things that we know we need. And one of those things is fermented foods. And from fermented foods, you get wonderful probiotics that are great for healing your gut and for getting those good bacteria. We all know that gut health is extremely important, and there are so many things that is tied to. One of those things is our immune system. If we are not taking care of our immune system and we are not taking care of our gut health, then we are going to pay the price in a lot of different areas. So focusing on our gut health is going to improve not only our immune system, it affects our mood, our behavior, our overall body functions. So this is going to affect our blood pressure, our blood sugar levels, our dental health even, which sounds crazy to think about your gut and your mouth, but it's all part of your digestive system. Digestion actually begins in your mouth with chewing. So you want to be sure that you've got good bacteria from your mouth all the way down to your gut so that you're better able to digest your food and get all those nutrients out of it that you need and to keep your whole body in good health. So when we talk about fermented foods, sometimes it can be a little confusing to try to figure out what those are. But fermented foods are basically things that have active cultures in them, and that can be things like yogurt, kefir or kefir, however you pronounce that. Foods like tempeh, kimchi, and miso, as well as typical homestead foods like sauerkraut and fermented vegetables like carrots and peppers and pickles, things like that. Not just canned items, but things that are actually taken through a natural or spontaneous fermentation. If you're not up for fermenting or you want to just try and see how you're going to like it, one of the things that you can do is you can buy fermented foods in the grocery store. Now, this is a jar of, was a jar of German style sauerkraut. And I want to show you that the ingredients in this are just purely cabbage. This one says water and salt. I'm going to share with you a recipe today that is very simple and it only has 2 ingredients. You don't even have to have water to do this. You don't need a lot of special tools for this. Basically, a knife, a head of cabbage, and some salt, and you're on your way.
So like I said, we are starting off with a small to medium-sized head of cabbage, and I'm going to slice it from the bottom down to the top. And what we're going to do is take out that core, and it's easier if you do it from the back side. Lay it down flat, cut a V into the back side of that. Then as you turn it over, you've probably gotten the majority of it. Here I have a little bit of that hard white core that I'm going to remove. Then once you've done that, you want to start to slice your cabbage however you prefer. Some people like to just have shreds and make it really thin. I like little small bite-sized pieces. So I'm cutting mine up kind of similar to a coleslaw, but I'll slice it in one direction and then remove part of this off the cutting board and then just start chopping into small pieces. Now obviously you can continue this till you have it as fine as you like, and you can stop whenever you want. Just get this into pieces that you feel like are going to be easy to eat. So we're going to do obviously both halves of the head of cabbage, and that is all going to be moved into a large mixing bowl. Then here's the key ingredient. It is the salt. You're going to add 2 tablespoons of salt. Just sprinkle it across the top, and you're going to use that to allow it to sit and draw out the liquid. So we're going to mix this up by hand. And once you have this salt completely incorporated into all of the cabbage, you're going to leave it covered. Now, I left mine covered for about 30 minutes and then came back to it, and that will make your work a little easier. So now you'll notice that there's less volume here, and what we're going to do is just massage this and work it with our hands, pressing against the sides of the bowl and squeezing it together so that you end up with liquid being drawn out of that cabbage. And the goal is to draw out enough liquid that your cabbage is actually sitting beneath the liquid once you move it to the jar. So this can be done with a tool. I'll mention that later, but obviously you can do the whole thing by hand, and that's the way I've always done it. So now I'm going to move it to my mason jar, just using a little funnel, and I've used a little vinegar bottle to help press that down and get the cabbage below the liquid level. Then I'm going to place a glass weight, which will keep that cabbage beneath the surface, and leave it on my kitchen counter for at least 10 days.
Sauerkraut is something that we keep on hand in our kitchen all the time. Sometimes it is the store-bought version. Sometimes it is the homemade. I do the best that I can, but obviously I am not always able to have everything homemade. So we do the best we can with what we've got. And if your time is short, then there's nothing wrong with buying this from the grocery store. If you decide that you try the recipe and you want to come back and you want to make this a regular thing in your kitchen, there are a few tools that will make this easier, but again, they are not absolutely necessary. But you will need a jar for storing your kraut in or your fermented vegetables. In the video today, I'm pressing my kraut by hand, but there is a handy dandy little tool called a kraut pounder. I think there's some other names for that too, but I'm going to share a link in the description to one of those tools, but it's basically like a little short baseball bat, and you put your kraut in your jar and you just press it down, and that's what helps to bring out the liquids inside the cabbage. You definitely can do that without the special tool. Another tool that comes in very handy is a glass weight. Now you can take your glass weight and you can use that to keep your cabbage down underneath the surface. And you can buy these in a pack of like 6 or 8 or 10. And often they come with these little tops. It's sort of like a baby bottle nipple. This sits on top of the jar, and it has a slit in there so that you can release the gases that form while the cabbage is being fermented. This actually will sit underneath the ring with your glass weight on top of that, holding all of your fermented vegetable below the surface level. Again, these are not tools that you absolutely have to have. You can always use a mason jar and just put a cloth napkin over the top and place your ring or even a rubber band around the top of that. We like to keep sauerkraut on hand in our refrigerator at all times. I love it, and I love to eat it as a side. My husband is not that crazy about it, but he knows that it's healthy for him, and I insist that he eat it. So usually I will put just a tablespoon or two on the side of his eggs in the morning, and we just kind of treat it like it's a supplement. It's not necessarily something that you have to love to eat, but you might develop a taste for it, and you might decide that later you want to come back and you want to ferment some other things. I'll share some other recipes later of how you can ferment things like carrots, cucumber, and jalapenos. All of those I love to keep on hand and use in various different ways. So there you have it. There is our recipe for the day. I hope that you will give fermented vegetables a try. Add it to your diet, not necessarily, like I said, not as a side if you're not crazy about it, but treat it like a supplement and treat it like something that you're adding to your diet, just like you would a vitamin C tablet or magnesium, just to boost your immune system and to take advantage of the incredible benefits of fermented vegetables. So I have shared a link below to one of those pounding sticks that I talked about, but you also can buy a kit that comes with the glass weights, the tops for fermenting, and the kraut pounder, along with a recipe book. So it's a really great deal if you're looking for something to invest in your kitchen that's also going to be beneficial for your health. But again, you can always make do with what you have on hand. These work just as well as the pounder does. It might just take a little bit more time, but you definitely can do it by hand and you're going to get the exact same results in the end. That's all I have for you today, friends. Until the next video, happy fasting.